Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. Okay, good. So we're gonna go straight into today's conversation. Well, before I go into today's conversation, I just like to give a bit of context in terms of a bit of the transition that I made. Obviously, from my profile, you can see I used to work in Lagos. Life was all peachy for me until my office decided that my life was getting boring, and they decided to move me to Barcelona, Spain. Please take note, at the time I was moved to Barcelona, Spain, the only Spanish I knew how to speak was just basically the Spanish I learned from Sesame Street. Buenos dias means good morning. And so that's how I ended up in Barcelona, Spain. A while after, my office felt that, hey, wait a sec, let's try and make your life a little bit more interesting. From Barcelona, Spain, I was moved to Senegal, where I had to discover that, oh yeah, the only French I actually know is bonjour and au revoir. Anyway, and from there we've basically been navigating the workplace together. So now let's go straight into today's conversation. Today's conversation is how to stand out in today's competitive workplace. Now, my philosophy for treating things like this is I always start with the context that, look, work is one of those unique things that it's impossible for you to bring the part of a human being to work. So, for example, it's impossible for you to bring just your brain to work and leave the rest of you at work. It's impossible for you to bring your hands to work and leave the rest of you. And so, really, work is one of those experiences that you bring the total man to the workplace. Not only do you bring the total man to the workplace every single day, but you also find out that, look, work is one of those places whereby it is impossible for you not to show the real who and the real nature of who you are. Why? Because you spend most of your working hours literally at work every single day. I mean, averagely most of us we spend between 8 to 10 hours at work every single day. That means, for example, let's say you are volunteering in a not-for-profit organization or maybe in your church. It's very much possible for you to actually pretend within the 1 hour or 2 hours that you are volunteering in that place. But look, it is very much impossible for you to pretend within the workspace because of the length of hours which you are going to be there. And so as a result of that, my approach to talking about this, the way in which you stand out within the workplace, is to look at a way of bringing that whole experience of who it is that you are to the workspace beyond just the skills which you basically use to accelerate your move within the workspace. Now, for me, the way I look at accelerating your career and standing out in the career is there are three core things you need to have. There are three distinctive systems you need to have for yourself. One, you need to have a personal success system. Number two, you need to have a professional success system. And number three, you need to have an organizational success system. And I'm going to run through everything. Follow me with this. So, within the personal success system, there are three things which you need to deal with. The first thing which you need to deal with in this particular area is you need to have a brand identity. Now, this is one of the things that confuses a lot of people. When you talk about brand identity, everybody's talking about, oh, need to have a brand, you need to have a brand. But let me tell you something. The strongest thing that defines your brand is your personal values. Why? Because your personal values is something that holds you together. A strong sense of value basically means that, look, you'll have a strong brand. If your values is well defined and consistent every single time, that means your brand is going to be consistent every single time. And the challenge for a number of people is actually the process of you being able to identify what your values are. So, for example, if you tell someone, oh, list out your values, for example, they may probably list between anything from 5 to like 10. But usually for me, I tell you that, look, no matter the number of values that you say you have, there are only three core values. I mean, the top three values are really the ones that drive your life. Really, it's pretty simple as that. And so if we really, really want to relate how your values basically drive your life, first, you need to ask yourself, what are your top three values? Once you know what your top three values are, the next thing you need to really ask yourself is that, look, why are these top three values important to you? And honestly, the only reason why your values are important to you is because of the results that they give you. Yeah, I'm sure most of you never knew that values are only important to you because of the results they deliver to you. And once you've been able to identify the results which they deliver to you, the next thing which you need to define for yourself is the value statement that represents that value. And this is really what really defines how you show up at work. So let me give you an example. One of my three top values is family. Now, what does family give me in terms of what is the result that it gives me? First, the first level of result it gives me is companionship. From companionship, the next thing which it gives me is support. From support, it gives me confidence. From confidence, it helps me to deliver success. It helps me to succeed wherever. And so, following that train of understanding, I know that, look, every single place that I find myself in trying to live out the value, in trying to live out the value of family. The first thing I hope family, the value of family is going to deliver for me, first and foremost, is support. From that support, I'm able to get companionship. From companionship, I'm able to get confidence for myself, and confidence, I'm able to succeed better. Now, based on that, I now develop a value statement, and my value statement trying to relate my value statement, trying to relate my family value to the workplace is pretty simple. I use work to create great relationships with the people I work with. It's pretty simple as that. Now, I told you about the situation that transpired whereby I basically had to move from Lagos to Barcelona. But what happened was this. The firm I was working with at that particular point in time acquired a company in Barcelona. And as part of the whole integration process, they moved me there so that I could integrate with the team. But of course, there was at the back of the mind of the people that was joining that, oh, wait a sec, this guy is basically coming, maybe he's going to be a spy for the head office. The story I actually heard was that some of the people in the team were not actually happy at, oh, why is really Tola coming to this place? Why do we need Tola here? But fast forward a couple of months later, the head of the team in the Barcelona office was having a conversation with my group CEO and was like, hey, wait a sec, having Tola there has been one of the best things for us. We really like having him here. And my group CEO was not having a conversation with me. He said, imagine, when I told them I was going to send you there, they didn't want you there, but they can also see the value of what you bring into that whole experience. And like I said, for me, it was very important that I realized that work was going to be used to create lifelong great relationships for me. Even up until now, I'm no longer there. The last time I was still in Barcelona, we all still met together, had lunch, and it's likely going to happen the next time I'm in Barcelona. It's all a case of living out my value. That my value of using work to create great relationships, lifelong relationships with people, has helped me in terms of being able to expand my brand within the workspace and people being able to embrace me. So really for you need to be able to define what are the 3 core values that you really have for yourself. What are the values that really will drive you in terms of how it is that you really want to show up in the workspace. Let me just put a summary of what it is I've just explained. So you have your values which define your brand identity, and your values are basically your what, your why are the results which it delivers for you, and your value statement is the how, which you translate your value into the way in which you live out your brand identity. That's the first thing that you need to have in place. The next thing which you need to have in place is a right supporting structure. Now, what is the right supporting structure? It means you need to have the right relationships that would support you to be able to achieve not only your professional goals, but also even your personal life goals. And for me, the supporting structures, there are 3 layers on the supporting structure, the way I understand it. Number 1, you have your accountability friends. Number 2, you have masterminds, whether it's paid or unpaid masterminds. And then number 3, you have coaches and mentors that you work with. And my recommendation is, as you advance in your career, it's very important that you have as much as possible all these 3 layers. Probably if you are starting out, you might not be able to go with all this. And please, when I talk about mentors, I'm not talking about somebody you are picking up the book and you're reading. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody you engage with who actually ask you questions about what you're saying you're doing, and you're able to give feedback, you're able to get response in terms of the next steps which you should be taking in whatever phase of life. But one of the things I always recommend for people is that, look, one of the fastest ways to move faster when it comes to doing your support structure is having a personal wisdom board. Now, what is a personal wisdom board? It's just my nice way of just calling an unpaid mastermind. So basically what you're doing is you're forming a group, you're bringing a group of people together, and the whole goal of all of you coming together is to add value to each other. It's like a mastermind which is not paid, unlike you being in the paid mastermind. And look, this idea is not original to me. It actually, one of the most popular examples is the one that you have with C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien, the Inklings, which they formed in the University of Oxford, whereby regularly they would meet to discuss their writings, the writings of others, and basically they used it to support themselves. And you can imagine from that group, you had the Chronicles of Narnia, you had Lord of the Rings, you had the Lord of the Rings books, all coming from that group of people who basically met constantly on a regular basis. And so it's very much important that, look, you need to realize that, look, it might not be possible for you to find an accountability friend. And when I mean by accountability friend, these are friends which you decide you want to give the power to be able to question your decisions, and you have to give them feedback. It may not be possible for you to find people like that, or you may not be able to find it. But look, one of the simplest things, you can actually bring a bunch of your friends that you think that, look, you share the same value, you share the same perspective in terms of life, and you're on a similar growth trajectory. And you can bring everybody together and try to learn from each other, try to find ways of expanding each other's learning experience. For most of us, the simple thing here is this: you need to realize within your friendship cycle there are hierarchies. You have your contact friends. These are people in which you've had the opportunity of meeting with. Maybe you are together in school, but you never had the opportunity of doing things together. What I mean by you never had the opportunity of doing things together. For example, you are not in the same committee or a team where you had to deliver something, or maybe you are not in the same unit or within the same workspace. And so those are basically your contact friends. The next level is your value friends. Your value friends are basically people which you've had the opportunity of engaging on a one-on-one with, whether working together as a group or working together on a particular assignment. The whole idea is that you've had the opportunity of knowing each other on a closer level, being able to share ideas, exchange ideas, understand their thinking, their philosophy about things. I mean, these are people in which you work together within the same department. And then, of course, the highest level, like I said, is your accountability friends. And look, if you want to constitute your personal wisdom board, my recommendation is pick from people within your accountability circle and value friends. It's pretty simple, and there's a simple approach of you setting up your personal wisdom board. It's not anything complicated. You just have to pick up your phone, look at a couple of, my recommendation, don't go more than, you shouldn't be more than 6 or 7, maximum cap it at 7. And the reason why I said you shouldn't be more than 7 is that you don't want people to be hiding behind the guise of being part of a big group and not really bringing significant value into that group. So you set it up and make it flexible in terms of the length of duration that you want everybody to be part of that group. Standard, I tell people, do it for 6 months. After 6 months, you can all decide. You still want to continue, and you keep on renewing. Look, I have apart from the fact that I'm part of a couple of paid masterminds, I actually have my own personal wisdom board, which is basically a group of people that, I just basically search my phone. These are people that I think, okay, we share similar values. We probably might be able to do a couple of things together. And every 6 months, I just send an email I just send a query to everybody. Do you all want to renew for another 6 months? Everybody says they want to renew. At the point in time, I actually stop sending it every 6 months, and it takes a while before I send it again, and everybody's been more or less renewed. Bottom line here is this: you need to have a supporting structure, and I think a personal wisdom board is one of the ways in which you can actually move faster. From there, you can actually get accountability friends, people that you think you can actually do life together on a deeper level. Now, the next thing which you need to have is you need to have financial control. Now, when I talk about financial control, I'm talking about you having a clear framework for how money needs to work with you and how money needs to grow for you. You need to have a clear framework, and you need to understand the tools that exist at each particular time to be able to live within the framework. For me, I believe that, look, there are 3 core life cycles that every one of us will all go through in terms of how we live our life with regards to money. There's your present life, which basically at that point in time, you're basically focused on protection. You want to focus on doing things that protect whatever lifestyle that you're currently living. And then the next level, which is where you focus, where your strategy is more of an expansion strategy. At that point, you're trying to build up your dream life. You're trying to, the life which you envision for yourself for the future, whether for you and your family, you're basically trying to build towards that. And then on the next final level, at that point in time, you're actually building up towards posterity. At that point in time, what you're focused on is your afterlife. That's really how it comes out for you. And like I said, there are different tools that you use at each particular level. So for example, on the protection level, the focus for you is basically things like budgeting, getting financial education, improving your education to be able to be more competent in the workplace, things like insurance, whether it's insurance on your house, insurance on your property, or even insurance for your life. Those are part of the insurance, health insurance. Those are things. Basically, you are trying to protect against you losing the quality of life that you're currently living in the present. And of course, for investment, your focus is basically low and medium risk. And when you move to the next level, the tools you are focused on is you start thinking of tax efficient structures for you to be able to optimize returns that you're getting on whatever investment. At that point in time, you're a lot more open to doing a bit of high risk investments. And of course, by the time you get to the final stage, you are basically focused on things like estate planning and trust. So that's basically the direction in which you go when you're talking about financial control. And really, these 3 things that I've dealt with basically encapsulate everything that comes under your personal success system. And if you notice something, that, look, all these 3 things actually addressed 3 core challenges that a lot of us face. One, identity, that is who we are, and that's why I said your values help you to define that very clearly. Number 2, relationships, having the right relationships for us to be able to engage with and avoid loneliness that we go through when we went to pursue our biggest dreams. And of course, the third thing, money, having a clear plan and a clear structure that actually drives your money plan. So that solves everything under your personal success system. And so the next thing we're going to go into is we're going to go to your professional success system. Now, the first thing you need to ask yourself is that, look, under the professional success system, the first thing which we're trying to get at is that, look, the first thing we need to deal with is, are you actually on the right job? So you need to ask yourself, for you to define whether you are actually on the right job, you need to ask yourself 3 questions, which follows the layers of what we've done. Number 1, are you on a job that aligns with your highest values, which supports the identity you want to show up with every single time? Number 2, do you have the right supporting structure to support you in the current career that you really are? And number 3, the current job that you are in, does it support your financial plan in terms of the direction, in terms of where you really want to go to in life? Now, once you've been able to answer that particular question, whether it's a yes, whether it's a no, whatever it is, the next thing we now actually do is we need to focus on what are the core skills that you really need to have for you to be able to succeed in life and actually excel as the professional that you really have to be in the workplace. And for me, I say there are 3 core skill groups within the workplace that you really need to be able to excel in the workplace. 1 is your personal skills. Those are the skills that come with your personality, who you are as a person. Skills like being positive, being empathetic, your ability to be resilient, to show up with confidence. Those are personal skills. The next set of skills which you need to really have a strong grasp of are your technical skills, and this really focus more in terms of there are 3 classes of skills under that. You have your job proficiency skills. This is basically your understanding of the job and knowing the intricacies of how you really need to deliver on the job. Number 2, you have your industry domain knowledge. You need to be familiar in terms of what is happening within your industry. And number 3, your tools competence. For example, if there is a particular software that you use within the industry or within the business that you currently work at. So, and of course, the third aspect, and really this third aspect, is actually the skills that most of us will be using more often as we go in our career. As you go on a senior level, you find out that this next set of skills, I call them the transcendent skills. They're actually skills that you'll be focusing more on as you get on a higher level. And for me, I've been able to find out about 16 core transcendent skills. Let me try and share my screen so that you guys can see what it is. I'm not going to run through all the 16. So I hope you guys can see it. So for me, there are 16 core transcendent skills. You've got things like leadership, strategic thinking, managing under ambiguity. You know, that's one of the biggest challenges for a number of people. Ability to manage under ambiguity. For most people, they need to have all the information before they make a decision. But what you have to realize is that as you go in your career, you get to a state whereby you have to be comfortable with making decisions without the full information. It's pretty simple as that. You have to be willing to take risk before you actually have the full set of information, manageable risk. Because one of the biggest mistakes most of us make is we assume that we need to have the full spectrum of information to make the best decision. What you don't realize is that even making a good decision is not as important as managing the good decision. Because look, sometimes you can actually make a good decision based on the information that you have in the environment at that particular point in time. And guess what? The environment changes within a week or two, and you have to learn to manage that good decision you made to adapt to the new changing situations that you actually have. And that's one of the things that you find out that, look, most people on the senior level, they have to build. But look, let me tell you, if you can start building your transcendent skills at a lower level, what it will help you to do, it will help you to move faster. Because why? You're not going to be focusing on what everybody else is thinking about. I'm sure you probably have heard the story about, it circulated on social media, where some guy went to complain to his boss that, look, hey, I don't like the fact that there's this guy that we both resumed together in the office on the same day, but you guys have moved in faster than I am, and we both have the same skills and the same qualification, etc., and things like that. And the guy said, okay, I'll show you what it is, why the guy is different. He gave them an assignment. He said, look, please go to this particular store and find out a particular item, find out the cost of the particular item. So guess what? This guy goes, just simply comes back, oh, the cost of the item is this particular price, etc. Guess what? The other guy goes there. By the time he comes, I said, yeah, the cost of the item is this, but if we buy more than this particular quantity, we're going to get this particular discount. And really, this particular product actually comes from this particular place, and this particular supplier is able to order, or even go, we can actually buy directly from that particular supplier if we are willing to get this particular number of units. And the boss said, you see the reason why the guy is different. He was thinking in terms of how to use that opportunity to expand profitability. You are just basically thinking in terms of, oh, I just given an assignment to go and get this. But for him, he expanded the scope of that assignment to actually think along the lines of, look, what would it take to succeed using this particular product? And those are some of the things you need to learn to build as you go within your transcendent skills. Now, the next thing which you need to build for yourself is you need to build your team leadership capabilities. Now, this is one of the things where things get really tricky, because once I say team leadership, the first thing most of you guys are thinking about is you are thinking about, oh, that means I need to be the head of a team, etc., and things like that. But what you have to realize is that in the workspace that we currently have now, beyond just having your typical unifunctional team whereby you're part of one particular department that focuses on a particular role, on a particular responsibility, you don't have what you call cross-functional teams, whereby you're part of a team whereby everybody is doing different things. You are not really aligned within just one particular task, but everybody is doing different things. And is in this particular, you need to develop the skill of being able to lead by objectives. What I mean by lead by objectives is that, look, you basically drive people to follow your leadership simply because you bring them to a common objective. Now, there was a project implementation committee that I set up a while back within the company that I'm leading. Now, guess who I decided to use? The head of the team. The head of the team, and just to give you a profile of the people in the team had the CFO, the team had the head of sales, he had the head of technical, and the person that I used as the head of the team was an associate person within the strategy department. Now, why did I give that person that responsibility? Simply because by virtue of his role within the strategy department, he has an overall view of the project. Whereas every other person sees their own responsibility in silos. The salesperson is looking at it from a sales perspective, the technical person is looking from a technical perspective, and the financial director, the CFO, is looking at it from a financial perspective. But I wanted somebody, the person I wanted to lead was somebody who sees holistically in terms of what is that particular project. And one of the things I had to do for him was to coach him before I gave him that response. I told him, look, I am not appointing you a leader to be the secretary, whereby you are the one who takes minutes and basically, no, I'm appointing you as the lead because I want you to drive the direction of where we want to go with this project. This is the sort of profitability we want to achieve with this project. So you need to be able to drive that profitability in terms of the way in which you push other members of the team to deliver. And that's one of the skills every one of us has to learn. You have to learn how to lead when you are not in charge, not only focused on leading when you're in charge. Those are unique leadership capabilities that you have to build as a person. So look beyond just leadership when you are in charge of a particular department. Even leading a department, what you have to realize is that most people, one of the things I always tell people is that, look, the current workers that you have now have a significant level of independence. They don't really have a sense of loyalty to be stuck with you for as much as it is that you really, really want. Really, it basically means that, look, if they decide they want to get out, they can get out at any point in time. And so what you need to do is you need to be able to leverage on their creativity, their capability at every single time. And that's why it's very much important that you develop the skill of being able to lead by objective. Because when you lead by objective, you are basically giving people the objectives that you want them to deliver, and you are giving them the creativity in terms of how it is they want to deliver that objective. That is a skill for you not to keep on telemanaging people, but basically leaving people to discover and evolve in terms of how it is they want to deliver the results that they want. Now, the next thing which you need to have in place under your professional success system, this one is what I call your indestructible focus. Now, I am sure for almost every one of you in the workplace, almost everything comes at you at the speed of the internet. Whilst you're trying to do this, somebody is asking you for this, somebody is asking for this, somebody is asking for your this. And your focus, which is one of your most prized possessions, becomes something that keeps on scattering itself every single time of the day. But what you have to learn, what you have to train yourself is, you have to train yourself to be able to throw away other roles that really, really don't have that don't really bring out your core responsibility. Because let me tell you, every one of you guys, you have what I call your unique ability. And that word is not original to me. It's by Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach. Now, he says everybody has you will all have a unique ability. And what is your unique ability? Your unique ability is basically the way in which you see things, the way in which you bring your sense of value to a particular transaction or a particular task. Every one of you has it. And one of the things I always tell people that, look, you need to protect that. And the way in which you protect it is, one, if there are any core responsibilities that you are not really core responsibilities that support your job, try and find ways of basically posting it out. Especially when you start growing in your career, try as much as possible to throw it out. So, for example, one of my unique ability is the way I'm a strategic thinker. I'm the typical guy in which, if there is a problem, if there is a situation, I'm seeing steps in terms of how that situation is going to evolve. And so for me, it's very much important that I create pockets of time whereby I actually think, because that's my unique ability. So I have constantly, on a regular basis, whether it's during the day, I try to make sure that, look, I farm out enough work out of my head to be able to create enough time for me to be able to do that unique ability that I have, that ability to strategically think. Beyond even just that, one of the things I also have as a unique ability is I'm one person who is able to see how IT is able to evolve our roles and responsibility within the workplace. And so what I'm always trying to do is trying to find ways of using IT to compress time. And so whatever does not align with that, I always try ways of, let me use the word, farm it out. I remember when I first started my work, this was like my first job straight out of NYSC, and I remember there are two of us they employed on that particular day, and I remember there was a particular point in time that the other guy that we employed was saying that, look, there's this particular thing that somebody is doing, let's go and sit down and work with that person. I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was just like, I don't need to do that, because why? I'm trying to basically go deeper in terms of what it is that I really am doing, in terms of the job that I'm really trying to do. So you need to find a way of really protecting your unique focus. So we're done with your professional success system. Now we're going to go to the final system you need to have in place, and that's your organizational success system. Number one thing you need to have in place there is you need to have a clear way in terms of how you provide service to people. Now for most people, when you get to a job, you are given a job description. The mistake most of us make is that we think our job description is basically how we should do our job. Your job description is just a guide. It's just a guide. That's the way I tell you. And so you have to find ways of actually elevating your work. So for most of us, when we look at our job description, we're basically looking at the functional responsibilities that we need to bring to the workplace. But what I tell people is that, look, there are 4 levels you can go in terms of the sort of results that you can give to people. You can either deliver results just only on the functional level, but if you decide to move up, you can deliver results on an emotional level, on a life-changing level, or a social impact level. I'm not going to go into details of that, but I'm just going to give you a simple quick example. I remember when I first moved into when there was a role when I first moved into. Before I got into that role, there was a particular report that the team was delivering every particular week, and that report was always coming out very late. We had a meeting that was 3 o'clock. Most times you'd actually have that report coming when people are actually getting into the meeting. And what would happen, eventually leveraging my unique ability of IT, I was able to compress time so that I got that report out between 2 to 3 hours before the meeting. Now that's delivering just on a functional level. But that report was not really a report for me. So the meeting was an asset management firm, and the meeting was basically a meeting between portfolio managers and relationship managers. So I would generate the report in terms of performance that the portfolios had made. Portfolio managers were meant to give explanations to the relationship manager. So what I realized is that, look, there was an emotional component to this, because why? The portfolio managers always had a sense of anxiety going into that meeting because they didn't know what to expect with regards to their portfolio report. So guess what I did? Before I would even share the report out to anybody, once I generate it, I send it to the portfolio managers. Ask them, please look at the performance of your portfolios. Some of them, they would have corrections which they want to make. Some of them, they would decide that, oh, this is actually the situation, but they would have reasons and explanations to provide. So you can imagine going to the meeting, the sense of anxiety has basically dissipated for the portfolio manager. Why? Because he's showing up with answers to provide to the relationship manager. And at the same time, the relationship manager too is also not afraid, knowing that, if the portfolio performs, these guys are not going to be able to tell me anything, because he knows that, look, if the portfolio underperforms that week, he's going to get a response for the portfolio manager to be able to tell the client in terms of, oh, this is what happened to your portfolio, and we're basically going to deliver what it is going forward. Now we go to the next thing. The next thing is in terms of your communication and perception. Now one of the things that you guys need to remember is that the current workplace that you have at least 4 generations of people. You have your baby boomers, you have your generation X, you have your millennials, and you have your Gen Zers, all 4 generations. And all 4 generations have different ways in which they communicate. There are different ways in which they want to be communicated to. You need to learn to adapt your communication to your audience, to the people that you are speaking with. Even beyond that, you even have gender. There's a way in which men like communication, there's a way in which women like communication. You need to learn to adapt it. I remember when I first started my career, my office then, flat structure, everybody by first name. And there was a particular time in which this person, she was more like, I think maybe like number 2 or number 3 in the office at that time. She called me and she said she didn't like the way I used to send my email. My email, I would write hi and then her first name. She was like, by writing hi, I was making her feel like we're on the same level. Please take note, this person is a baby boomer. And so what I did was I sat down and I thought about, okay, so all her emails, I will now start with hello, and I write the person's name. Do you know that simple change in my email basically changed it for us in terms of the relationship, in terms of the way in which the person basically saw me? It changed it completely. So you need to learn to adapt your communication to your audience. Do you understand? The next thing which you need to have under your organizational success team, which is actually the final thing, you need to have good people management skills. And when I talk about good people management skills, you need to learn in terms of the way in which you can bring people to bring their highest value to support you within the ecosystem of work that you have. And I'll simplify it for you. There are two levels of people you need to manage very, very separately and in a unique way. You have people that are above you, you have people that are on your level or below you. Now, the people that are above you, you need as much as possible to give them respect. The people that are below you, you need as much as possible to give them recognition. It's pretty simple as that. And when I mean by respect for the people above you, for example, if you have a boss, somebody you report to, that your direct line manager, the way you give respect to that person is, for example, if that person goes to a meeting and communicates that, look, we are committing to completing this particular task, this particular project at so and so time. The way you show respect to that person is by keeping to that deadline, helping him to make sure he achieves that deadline. Pretty simple as that. And you know, for example, let's imagine you are in a particular meeting, your boss makes a statement in terms of something, and you're like, that thing is not completely true. Now, there's a way in which you can handle it. You can say, oh, excuse me, sir, what you said, I agree with it, but the fact that you've included a but basically changes the dynamic of it. Instead of using but, use and. Oh, for example, let's say your boss says, oh, look, we're going to complete this in 5 hours, and you know that, look, that is so not possible. You can say that, excuse me, sir, delivering it 5 hours, a good idea, and the way we need, and to deliver it in 5 hours, we need to be able to do this and this and this and this. By just rephrasing instead of putting but and making it and, what you are basically showing yourself is, you are showing yourself as a supportive partner. That's one of the ways in which you show respect. For the people below you and on your same level, recognition, you need to share recognition in terms of how it is that you do things within the workspace. Now, everything that I've told you is actually all put together in one neat slide so that you see everything correctly together. Like I said, you got your personal success system, your professional success system, and your organizational success system. These are three boxes, three activities that you need to do under each particular system. Yeah. Dikwa has already put me on the spot saying that I always like to give goodies, so I have no choice. I definitely have to give goodies. So first thing I'm going to be giving out is there's a primer book that I've written. There's a primer book that I've written. It's about 5,000 words all in all, 21 lessons I learned in my career. I'm going to send you, let me just put it, I'm going to put a link to a page where you can actually get a coupon for you to be able to get the ebook for free. So once you put the coupon on that particular page, you can actually get it for free. Then the other thing that Dikwa talked about, since July 1st, I've actually been running a 31-day career accelerator for value-driven professionals. Well, obviously, since I said July 1st, we're almost to the tail end, but you can still join in to get access to the replays. I'm going to share the link on the group. I'll be on the chat. So you can still join to get access to the replays. And even if you don't sit down to watch the replays, even the workbook alone, I have a 38-page workbook that we're using. Now, the 38-page workbook is basically a collection of activities, surveys, different things that you need to do on a daily basis. So across the 31 days, there are actually activities that you need to do. And let me tell you, this is free. I'm not charging anybody. I didn't charge anybody for it. I know somebody actually told me that, look, it's all right. Even just for the workbook alone, you could have charged for it. But no, there's no need to do that. If there's an opportunity for me to be able to serve people and give it to you free. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for the invitation given to me to be able to speak to you. I really, really hope that you guys have been able to find value in what I've shared during this conversation, and I look forward to being able to hear the stories that you guys are having in distinguishing yourself within the workplace. Thank you very much.